Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can.
Alex's model underwent some upgrades for episode 2. We added 2 new holes to her jacket, courtesy of a hunter, and dirtied her texture up a bit to show wear and tear. We also increased her polygon count, and to help with her jacket, we added shoulder blades to her back so that it flexes better when she lifts her arms. Additionally, we reconnected her belt so that instead of being rigidly attached, it now flexes and slides around more. A lot of this stuff you won't even notice. It'll just look right. Yeah, that's Alex. She's wearing a jacket. You wouldn't even think about it. It's easy to have the computer draw something stiff and awkward, but doing that pulls you out of the game. You stop believing in the characters. They just become icons. Our goal is to make our characters simply look natural, but to do that requires lots and lots of work and tons of new technology. The irony is, if we've done our job, you won't even notice. It'll just look right.
Yeah, I admit I don't notice that much of a difference between the episodes in the model, but it looks pretty alright, that's for sure. She's got an interesting necklace. I'm curious if it signifies anything.
This vista is one of the largest open outdoor areas we've tackled in our games. When rendering such an area in real time, it's necessary to use various level of detail techniques made available to us by the source engine. For example, the distant foliage and combine enemies are rendered with far fewer polygons than they would be if they were meant to be viewed up close. Additionally, the organic shapes used to model the rocky outcroppings and valley floor below use complex shading operations to combine a relatively modest amount of texture data. This trade-off, which requires a manageable amount of texture data, allows us to use more polygons, enabling us to represent more organic shapes which are in contrast to the orthogonal forms common to our traditional urban environments.
Initially, we built this area around the sand traps mechanic from Half-Life 2, warning the player that stepping on sand would trigger swarms of antlions. Soon after the warning, however, the safe islands of rock ran out and the player was forced to run across the sand as quickly as possible. Players were confused by this and upset because Alex and the Vortigaunt would simply say they had no choice and head straight across the sand. To solve this, we decided to stage the combat with safe zones around Thumpers instead.
Okay.
Take shelter near the repellent device.
It's cool how she
Gordon, go on. I'll follow when I can.
appears more fatigued and, just recovering from her injuries, which I suppose probably is mentioned in here.
Early in the development for this level, we used an animation for Alex that showed her as clearly injured as she ran along behind the player. This really slowed her down, however, and playtesters did not enjoy waiting for her to catch up or going back to retrieve her. To address this, we started the recovery in the preceding map to make sure she was healthy enough to run at a regular speed before reaching this area.
Yeah, it's alien magic after all, so it doesn't break my suspension of disbelief. Especially because you had to fulfill a dangerous task to actually heal her, so it seems earned in a way. Okay, there is a next one over here.
This scenario required significant changes to the Antlion guard behavior. Players of past games were used to dealing with only one guard in a confined space and without anywhere to hide. In this scenario, the player had a safe zone, but couldn't remain there to accomplish their goals. One change we made to the guards was in altering how they throw objects at the player. Originally, they shoved objects directly toward the player at high speeds. These objects were really hard to dodge, and if you weren't paying complete attention, you could easily be blindsided and killed. The guards now hurl objects along an arcing trajectory, which not only gives the player a greater opportunity to dodge, but looks awesome. The player gets to see the guard launch a car from 100 feet away, then step aside just as it crashes to the ground where they were standing.
Yeah, we'll listen to the
Some
commentary
testers had
notes
trouble
before
realizing when they were doing damage to the Antlion guards.
Yeah,
So we've added a bleeding effect that grows more serious as the guards' hit points decline.
that's what I
This
wondered
kind of
about
visual
in the
feedback
previous
makes more
episode.
intuitive sense to the players. It suits the biological nature of the creature and frees us from having to rely upon spoken explanations of gameplay.
Because I don't think they bled in the actual Half-Life 2. So it's another one of those really small but appreciated additions. I totally noticed that, and
We
it's
wanted to
helpful.
create a tension between Gordon and the Antlion Guardians that would develop over several levels and only resolve out here in the open. In order to differentiate this Guardian from the others the player had encountered throughout Half-Life 2 and Episode 1, we changed his texture to a glowing green. This gave the player the satisfaction of revenging himself on the creature that had chased him through the underground lair.
Actually, is revenging even a word? I would think it's avenging. No, I'm not sure. I'm not English myself, so it's not like I have a flawless command of the language or anything. Far from that. In truth. Ah, there. Beautiful.
This time they kill it without consequence.
I wanted to pick up some of those barrels. And use them first. Partially because it saves me some ammunition, and partially because why the hell not? They are laying around and they are probably expected to be used in this way.
The Guardian bars our way, but now we are free to destroy it.
Actually, where is it? Okay, that was not the wisest thing I have done in my entire life. But I will save because I think I made some progress at least. He says while he dies. On actually hurting it. Okay, that's... Come on. And there were some more barrels around here, I guess. Although seem to be missing now. I'm a little confused about how you have this area that they cannot enter. In theory, I could just sit in here.
The Guardian must now die.
Shoot at them. I'm not sure what exactly is stopping me from simply doing that. Okay, that's one of them. save. Some more barrels around here. Well, I totally didn't expect him to get this close to the topper. Save. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. But now that I did, may actually okay. Oh, be safe and look for some more. Damn it.
Fracture detected. Warning. Vital signs critical.
Explosive barrels, maybe. This one doesn't seem too wounded, unfortunately. Oh, I still have 3 grenades for the SMG. Prove useful. I'm not sure what's stopping me from just sitting in here. I guess that could stop me. And me killing myself could probably stop me as well. Probably pretty wounded by now, bleeding heavily.
Vital signs critical.
Okay, there it goes. So, save.
Nice work, Gordon. Sorry it couldn't be more help. I'm still a little weak.
Okay, let us proceed.
Well done, Freeman. You dispatched those guards with great dispatch. Come now.
Not really that great.
The seek is in the encampment above.
I want to check if there's anything worthwhile in the tunnels here. Like health. But apparently not.
This lift will carry us to where the vehicle awaits.
Looks like we need to find your med kit.
Yeah, that's right. Of course. Poisoned head crab. us go.
Puzzling. The sentries should have spotted us by now.
You think the Combine found them?
Such a theory is hardly far-fetched.
There is one of the few sightings of the G-Man ahead in this episode, because from the point he interrupted us with the Vortigaunts, the Vortigaunts sort of stopped, stopped blocking him, sort of. I think he appears somewhere. Damn it. I'm not sure.
But came to no good in themselves.
Ah, there he is.
Have had their way with both parties.
There he is.
Hey, look! Out on that bridge.
Could be
I
cool
think I
if,
see the car you were talking about.
if he looked at you or something. But I guess he never acknowledges you, so.
It appears they attempted an escape, but made it no farther than the abyss.
Well, if they got it over there, maybe we can jump it back to this side.
We recommend the Freeman for this task.
Hey, I'm feeling a lot better.
That condition will not last long if you plunge into the toxins below. We would do well to lend our protection from above, while Freeman skirts the hazards in the pit. This mounted gun may prove useful. The gun would appear to be powerless. Go, Freeman. I will look after the Alex fans.
Well,
Ah, okay.
Gordon?
Wait.
I guess it's all up to you.
Which way now?
Here, I'll get this field down.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought. But first, let us listen to the commentary note.
Good luck,
For
Gordon.
attentive players, this is the first time we've
Yeah.
allowed a glimpse of the G-Man since Half-Life 2. In Episode 1, we suppressed the G-Man's visitations completely, to show that he had lost track of Gordon. But after Alex's healing incident earlier in Episode 2, he is actively watching again. Keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, I am.
In Episode 1, Alex climbs up into a hidden room and uses a combined sniper rifle to assist the player. The player never sees the rifle, only the targeting beam. For Episode 2, we decided to show the combined sniper rifle and let the player know exactly where Alex would be standing when she used it. However, making it visible and accessible to the player required us to come up with a way to make the rifle usable only with the Vortigaunt's help. Though it's somewhat of a contrived and arbitrary device for keeping the player from using the gun, we felt it was a worthwhile trade-off, given that playtesters tended to enjoy the co-op sequence of Alex assisting them from above.
Wait, what did I just do? Ah, right, okay. I moved in a circle. Okay, through here. Not sure what is making this. Ah, it's a poisoned head crown. It's pretty tough. Yeah, we'll wait with activating the commentary until I clear the room of enemies to avoid the possible unfair advantage.
The ambient sound of the poisoned zombie breathing was placed here to make the descent into the building scary. Although most of the team thought it was comical, there were a few playtesters visibly unnerved by it. One playtester stood at the opening to this room for a long time, afraid to go in.
Okay, something valuable here. Okay, it worked decently enough, I guess.
Training players who haven't played previous episodes is always a challenge. Those who had not played episode 1 did not immediately understand that the combined sniper beam was friendly. They avoided it, thinking it could damage them. Therefore, we added this staircase scenario, where we reintroduce Alex's sniper behavior and make a show out of her shooting a zombie to protect the player.
I won't be able to replicate it because it requires far too much actual skill, but as I mentioned once in the previous episode, I saw a guy on YouTube, I will link it in the description, grab a grenade from a zombie and throw it in there, and it revealed that Alex is in fact a combined sniper in disguise, because basically how it works is, I assume, that this is just a reused AI for the combined sniper, except that it is friendly towards the player. But there is an actual combined sniper that you can kill in there as a sort of placeholder. Okay. Something here. Nothing but a bottomless pit, it seems. This should clear them nicely. I don't think I will need to backtrack, so I won't bother with killing the barnacles. Actually quite short on ammo for most weapons. Is there something here? Oh shit. Okay.
This is an instance where observing playtests gave us ideas for tuning the experience. In an early version, playtesters would trigger the lights to go out and the zombies to wake up. Then, they would run out of the room and close the door. After seeing this repeatedly, we added a trigger allowing the zombies to open the door and chase the player.
I didn't even experience that, seeing how I didn't go out of the room, but interesting to hear.
In this scene, we rigged an entity called a physics explosion to create movement among the boxes inside the dumpster. One playtester we had threw a grenade into the dumpster, and the physics explosion entity caused the grenade to fly back out. The player was surprised, thinking the zombie had tossed back his grenade. Although this happened by accident the first time, we went ahead and set up the entities to make sure it would happen for every player who lobs a grenade into the dumpster.
It's interesting. Let us try this just for show. I wonder if it will jump out, maybe. Will it? Will you? Well, now you won't, I guess. Actually, can I get in there? Maybe there's something valuable. Doesn't seem so. Anyway. Okay.
There you are.
Oh. Okay, well, just let her deal with it because she's got unlimited ammo. Oh, it basically lets you set them on fire, although I'm not sure why we don't need that.
Earlier in this level, we blocked the path with fire and forced the player to turn off a gas jet to continue. Fire traps of this sort were plentiful in Half-Life 2, but we could not count on players knowing or remembering how to use them here. Having offered some brief training, we now build on the mechanic by having the player work with Alex to create a cooperative fire trap. Most players turn on the gas, at which point Alex shoots a zombie on the stairs to create the wall of fire. This triggers a parade of zombies to come out of the door below and walk into the fire.
Okay. Guess that's enough for now. Okay, I need to expend 2 bullets for the magnum, just to unfortunate. Save.
Saw blades were a prominent weapon in Half-Life 2, and we wanted the player to recognize them as part of their arsenal in the upcoming warehouse battle. After watching several playtesters ignore them completely, we decided to add the zombie pin to the wall. Most players pull out the saw blade and instantly realize its potential for destruction. After that, they tend to find and use saw blades without further prompting.
Yeah, there was actually a similar scene in Ravenholm in Half-Life 2. Actually create more openings for Alex to shoot through, removing the plates from the roof. I guess I can listen to the commentary because they can't damage me anyway while I'm up here, at least. And I don't think I'll be able to return, so...
The battle in the warehouse was created fairly late in the development of this map, when we realized that the level had a steady stream of combat, but no real climax. We wanted to take advantage of Alex's sniping abilities, building on the scene in Episode 1 where the player can punt boards off windows to give her a better view of attacking zombies. Here, we have the player removing tin roof panels to give Alex a line of sight into the room below.
Okay, is that all of them? Most of them, at least. Is this the way forward? No, it's just some additional ammo. But that's good nonetheless. Of ammo. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to throw it so that it would catch it, but it didn't exactly work. Okay, maybe it's good that I died because I actually had a lot of health before that. All of that gas canister debacle. Maybe it's just best if I simply don't do that. Oh. Okay, I think I need to... Yeah, right, I need to use the forklift.
As much as possible, we try to create small surprises for the player that aren't related to combat at all. With this forklift puzzle, we wanted to trick the player into assuming that once they operated the lift, the puzzle would be solved. However, the player soon realizes that the obvious solution is actually a bit of misdirection.
Oh, it indeed is. Indeed it is. Although, is it? I think Yeah, it is. Oh, alright. Alright. You're right. Developers of the game who actually made this puzzle. It indeed is a piece of misdirection. Okay, I actually probably need to go around there. No, maybe. Okay, I'm not sure if that was what I was actually supposed to do, but I guess as long as it worked. Another pretty cool piece of ambient in the background. I mean music actually, but it's sort of softened. Okay, I will listen to this and then it will probably be a good place to end the episode.
In previous versions of this level, the platform opened directly into this pit of toxic waste. Playtesters who didn't recognize the waste as something harmful would jump straight into the pit. We changed the path so the player could make a safe landing and slowly come to understand the toxic threat.
Okay, so this is all for this episode. See you in the next one. Bye.